paper said we had 7
There you go,
people
yeah.
that ran.
All right, good evening. Welcome to the Georgetown School Committee meeting of Thursday, April 25th. First item is our consent agenda, which includes the approval of minutes from our regular session of April 11th, 2013, safety minutes of April 11th, 2013, and the acceptance of warrants 43V13 and 42P13.
So moved.
I second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Next up, Cole. We'll get to him.
We'll get to Cole.
Anyone from the public that wishes to speak on anything on the agenda? Nope. Okay, administrative reports.
Okay, so before I get to my first item, we do have a little item that we hadn't put on the agenda. And Barbie, I think, is going to handle it. So do you want me to grab it? You got it, Laura? So Ann's last meeting is tonight, as we all know. And Ann's not good at this, but we're doing it anyway. As the chair, the fact that this is her last meeting, committee wanted to acknowledge that.
And it usually
So I'm
happens at
turning-
the end of the meeting, so it's kind of like.
So I will forfeit my time temporarily to Barbie.
Yes, thank you.
Well, thank you.
Well, this is a sad day for all of us. We really will miss you.
Well, thank you.
And I know I'm sure my committee members would like to each speak a little bit, but just as far as for me, you've really been great. And, you've been a great leader. Your dedication to our community is, amazing. And I appreciate all that you've helped me with for the past 2 years.
Well, thank
So,
you.
I'm sure I'll be seeing you though.
Or maybe
You're
calling
just a
you.
phone call away, right?
She's a phone call away.
Yeah, Anne, thank you so much for everything you've done.
Thank you.
For the time before I've been on this committee, for the time while I've been on this committee. You're an amazing leader. I really admire the way you run meetings and you give everyone fair time, and you just, you run it so well so that everyone has a chance to contribute. And I just appreciate your collaborative style, and you've got your mind on every detail. You drill down into those details. You've got such a great handle on them, financially, every other way. And, if saying goodbye is something you don't do well, it's got to be one of the only thing you don't do well, because you've done everything else well here. So thank you.
Thank you
so much.
Yes. Ditto.
Thank you.
I also just want to thank you for all you've done for this community. As somebody who hasn't been in the Georgetown schools for a very long time, coming onto this committee was really eye-opening to know how many people there are in this town who care so deeply about the children here and the students. And you've exemplified that, and it has definitely touched me, and I want to thank you.
Oh, thank you.
And, I know some of my questions have not always been yes, and I appreciate your indulgence with that. But in all seriousness, I have a great deal of respect for you and your leadership and the time that you have put into this town. It's a huge sacrifice, and your family's sacrifice as well. So it's a heartfelt thank you.
Thank you. Thank you to all of you for being wonderful committee members, and a wonderful superintendent, and a wonderful Laura, who saves me more often than I realize.
It's our pleasure.
You've all been a pleasure to work with, and you've made it just an amazing 6 years. Even those that haven't been here this past year. It's a great committee, and all of your contributions will be so welcome, and they're so important over the next few years. So keep up the great work.
So why don't you open your gift?
Peter, it's my last meeting.
He's like, what
He looks shocked.
Usually it's May, that's why. Usually it's the first meeting in May.
because of
Yeah, because of the election.
It's different.
And I'm really bad at this.
put a lot of tissue paper in it.
Oh, thank you.
Oh, there you go.
That's what I needed all year. My gavel.
Right, well, you can use it. Nice.
Can we adjourn now?
You can know.
Thank you very much.
Oh, you're welcome.
You can hang that proudly.
Yes.
Thank
Or put it
You
on.
deserve it.
Or I can leave it for the next group. That we need a gavel. There needs to be a gavel.
Put it on
We'll
your
work on
desk
getting
at
it.
I think
work
there
or
should be a gavel.
at
We'll work on
home,
getting
you
it.
know.
So what does it say?
All
here?
those people to order.
Show it to the audience.
It has my name, Georgetown School Committee. Thank you for your many years of leadership and dedication to Georgetown. Thank
Okay.
all of you very
There's
much.
something on the gavel itself, right? Is that?
Yes. Georgetown School Committee Chairman. I'm
And
having
your
a hard
dates.
time reading. May 2011 to May 2013, and then the dates that I was on the committee from 07 to 13.
Beautiful.
Oh, 6
That's
years.
a long time.
Yeah, 6 years, a long
Has it
time.
gone by fast?
You know what? When I thought about coming tonight, it's gone by incredibly quickly. Because when I started, no, because I remember leaving a baseball game at Pembroke to come here.
Wow.
So and
So that puts it
I-
in perspective.
yeah, it does.
Yeah.
Because my kids don't play at Pembroke anymore, but they're still at baseball practice. So tonight.
And Ann is the last member of the committee that was on the committee that hired me.
Right.
Ann's
That's
the
right.
last
I
member.
forgot about
You
that.
were you had just come on the committee when I got hired.
Yeah.
Yeah, you were the newest
I
member.
was the newest member,
That's
because
right.
I'm the I'm the sole.
Great decision there.
Well, no, I'm the sole person. Like I
Just
run
is.
independent. Like there's only one of me that runs, whereas everyone else is two.
That's right.
Oh.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
So,
call.
But I
Thank
had
you.
great role models.
yes, that's right.
to
We've
help
got
me.
great.
I
members
know,
of the
thanks
committee.
to Ann Donahue for coming.
Yeah.
She wouldn't have missed it.
Yes, you would have.
No.
She's a good
Wouldn't
friend. Good friend and colleague.
Like, yeah, great role model, great helper. All right.
All right, now we
Horrible at
can
this
go
part.
back to the business.
All right.
All right.
Thank you. Together.
So I just had one quick thing, and that was just to let the committee know. Obviously, we were all touched by the tragedy recently in Boston at the marathon. And one of the things about school is we're responsible for academic, making helping kids learn their academics and get stronger that way. But we also have a role in social, moral, ethical domains as well. And so one of the things that the schools have done in the aftermath of this has been to sort of take some control of their world and try to put together things within their community that would allow everyone to begin to heal and to move forward. And so Cole's on the student council, so maybe he could talk a little bit about what they're doing at the high school, because I know they're taking on a role. But I gave you just a little bit of a sampling, in the orange notes of the different ways that the schools, in fact, I'm surprised Margaret doesn't have her Boston Strong or her Red Sox or some kind of sporting event attire on, because I think Pearlie's doing all week.
Yes.
Right, Pearlie's doing some activities all week.
I invited the Pearlie community to wear Boston shirts or sports shirts, red, white, and blue, marathon colors, all week long, and to bring in any donation. And on Friday, a parent does our collection, and we will give it to the One Fund in Boston.
And
All year long, for a couple of years, we've done monthly fundraisers, but this will be an extension. So children really are participating, and it's a great cause.
and I know at Pembroke, you were working on some things, Donna, your fifth grade
Similar
students.
things, tried to focus on the courageous acts of the heroes in the marathon and the positive aspect of that with our kids. And we're also, wearing the patriotic colors and all week, and then we have the One Fund by our fifth grade student council.
And I know,
I'll let Cole.
you want to have Cole
Oh,
talk
yeah.
a little bit about the student council work?
So we are basically doing the same thing. We have everyone dress up in their Boston gear, anything that they have. And I know I had to pull out all the old Red Sox shirts, anything that I had in my closet. But we did the same thing. We have a collection at the main office and then one at lunch all week for the One Fund. And we've been doing really well. Every day we see people dropping $1, $2, just something really nice. So I'm really happy to see that everyone's participating.
Well, and again, it gives people a sense that they can do something if they choose to. I just have been, very impressed with the way the district and staff students have really embraced supporting those that, have certainly been affected by it in a negative way. Sometimes it's easy to think about ourselves, but it's not always, unfortunately, these are the kind of occasions too often recently that, are forcing these kind of things. But it is important to think of yourself as part of a larger community. And so I just wanted the committee to be aware, that when school opened, it was business as usual, but there were opportunities if any students or staff needed to have additional support, those things were in place. But I think because it had happened during vacation, at the front end of the vacation, that a lot of, people had been working on it on their own and their families. So we didn't have quite the same fallout or reaction that maybe would have happened had it happened the Friday before we came back or something. So, but we wanted to have that in place, as we always do, in crisis situations. And, as far as I know, and based on my conversation with the principals, everybody's moving forward, positively and doing these things in remembrance. And if anybody has any questions about that, I'm sure anybody in the schools could help you answer any questions. But, just it's more for your information than anything else. There are no school reports, though, so I think we can move on.
Great. Cole, did you have anything you wanted to add about your normal report, anything that's going on at school that we need to be aware of?
We do have the senior showcase coming up. That will be May 2nd, this Thursday coming up. Not obviously not today,
Yep.
but the next one. And it's going to be really fun. We have a couple of really good acts, and I will be
Why don't you tell them a little bit
participating.
about what that is, because I'm not sure.
So
everybody-
what it is basically we did it last year for the first time, and so we're just continuing it this year. And we just have any seniors that would like to participate in kind of something like a talent show. And but there's no judges or anything. It's just people going up and showing their talent and showcasing the seniors, because it's the last time that they're going to really be in the school. So I really like that idea, and we wanted to continue it. So it should be a good show.
Yeah, it was great last year.
Mhm.
I really enjoyed it.
I did too.
A lot of talented people, the young people.
So it's at night
Yes,
Yeah.
that's
And there's a
7
cost?
o'clock. Yes.
to get
Yep.
in?
It's
You just-
$4
yeah,
to get in.
$4,
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's great.
All right. Superintendent's information for the committee. Any questions on that? Nope. We are gonna. Joan isn't with us tonight. She had a personal situation, so third quarter report is gonna be at the next meeting.
Yeah.
Pam, you wanted to talk about something. It's not subcommittee, but
Oh, okay, yeah,
do you want to do that now?
I can,
Yeah, that
sure.
would. If that's why don't we do that now before I forget?
Okay, sure. Well, I am the school committee CPAC liaison, and CPAC is the Special Education Parents Advisory Council. And I just feel that I was remiss at the last meeting. I didn't thank Donna Straight and Eileen Lee and Kim Leonard, who put together a fantastic presentation for the CPAC on April 9th regarding our extended school year program and the changes to it. And they really took their time and they got into, they explained a lot about many different aspects of special education. I just want to thank you because I learned a lot there, and I'm sure everyone else did, so.
No,
And
thank you,
as-
Pam.
Oh, good. Thank you. Then I just also wanted to give a shout out about the PTA's fashion show.
Oh, I
which
have that on
is-
my list.
Oh, you've got that?
at-
Okay.
On May 2nd, right?
May 2nd,
Okay.
yes, that's
Same
right.
day. We couldn't schedule it anyway.
Oh,
but,
okay.
yeah.
At the DoubleTree
Sorry.
in Danvers.
At the DoubleTree in Danvers, which is also Hilton. I guess Hilton owns DoubleTree.
Yeah, it's
so
a brand of
it's
Hilton's.
both.
Yep.
Yes, but it's going to be fantastic. There are going to be over 50 vendors there. So if you get there at 6 o'clock, you can shop with all these vendors, and they're also donating raffles, so you can buy raffle items. And to get tickets, you should go to the Georgetown PTA website, which is now very easily accessible on our new school website, to find out how to get tickets. Because there may not be any left to buy at the door.
Okay. Oh, good point.
And I think over 90 students and a few celebrities that are in the audience are part of it. And it should
Ian,
be
are you
fun.
doing it?
It'll be really fun. It'll be really fun.
Celebrity? I think it's Peter.
They should have approached him, maybe.
$20 for adults and $10 for children.
It's
6 to 10 p.m.
They do sell out quick. I remember the last one we did, they did you couldn't buy tickets at the door.
Yeah, I've already
I
got my
remember when
tickets.
Barbie
so.
came, when we were talking about GEF fundraisers, Barbie came to me and said that she had gone to a fashion show in a neighboring community and had been really successful. So I'm
Yeah,
really
the
glad
Ipswich Country
that,
Club.
you know, the
I'm glad,
PTA
yeah.
picked it up and
fun.
has been running with it.
It's good.
Budget and finance, anything?
No.
No.
We haven't-
Governance?
we haven't met.
Nothing?
Right, we haven't met, it was just about the lights,
This
which
is
is gonna
usually
come up later.
just so everyone knows, it's usually a quiet time, so it's
Yeah.
not shocking.
Right.
Negotiating, we're gonna be talking this evening. Public relations, nothing since the
We
last
don't have
one.
no, we don't have another meeting scheduled yet, we're going to, but we're still
scheduled.
researching about constant contact or some other email marketing program.
Safety.
Well, I should
how that
say
could be a
something
benefit.
about this, and I need to talk to Cole about it. I met with Charlie Mendez the other day, as we've been talking about this television show that we want to do back when Annie was on the committee. And so I talked to him about it and said, well, you know, could we do one this year? Then we'll see how it goes, and maybe we can, you know, at least do quarterly ones next year. So as Charlie and I were talking, one of the things, you know, I said to him, as a member of the public, what kinds of things would you want to see on a show like that? Because I mean, I might think all kinds of ideas are great, and the public might say, well, we don't really care about that. So he said, well, I like to hear things about the students. So I thought, well, maybe I can talk to Cole, and we can figure a way to get a representative sample of students, maybe 4 or 5 students, cross-section of students, seniors in particular, and we can have a little roundtable conversation in my office that Charlie can tape around, you know, what plans what are they looking forward to, you know, what's their education been, what are the best things about their education here. We'll just have, you know, like a way to focus and showcase some of our great students and what they're looking forward to. So I'll talk more about that with you, but
Great
you know,
idea.
Sounds like an
I'm
excellent
thinking
idea.
that won't be heavy lifting for anybody, but I think it might be something that, because I often get questions, particularly elementary people. There's fear or worry about, you know, well, what's the high school like, and you know, they're not sure. Well, you know, what should I look forward to? And I think the best people to talk about that are clearly the people who are the consumers of the service. And I thought about it based on my conversation with you, Alana, and Rob. I think you and I kind of talked about it. So it made me think, you know, this might be an opportunity. So we haven't got a date yet. We'll do it before the end of the school year. I'll certainly let you know that it's happening. And the goal would be for Charlie to tape it, and he'll edit it and make it look nice. And then, you know, we'll, because that ties into the part of the public relations that we've been talking
Absolutely,
about.
yeah, we
That's
have
really
we
cool.
discussed that.
So
I
we're gonna-
really,
we're
really
gonna-
like
we're
that
gonna
idea.
get- It ought to be fun. It ought to be fun.
I think that would be
Every
really
high school
fun.
student wants to be on.
Yeah, we don't have problems with our
Opportunity.
children wanting to be on TV. There's not usually people say, I don't want to be there.
That's awesome.
So yeah,
I
so
really
I'll
like
talk
that.
more with you about that.
Okay, definitely.
Great idea. Safety, anything, have you had?
We haven't had a
Yeah.
meeting since the last meeting.
School building committee.
That one keeps going. So we met Tuesday this week, 23rd, on schedule, on budget. That's good news. We basically reviewed interiors, flooring, ceiling.
Marble?
Yeah.
I had to say it.
That's only at the entry. And some exterior materials. And the next meeting is scheduled for May 7th at 7 o'clock. And our subcommittee meetings, May 1st at 5:30 is a subcommittee meeting at 5:15 at Pearlie for the playground equipment. And then following on that is the subcommittee at 7 o'clock for site issues. And that's where it stands.
And that would be where they're gonna put the pool.
Who told you?
You're not helping, Ann.
She's on her way out.
All right,
Just joking, just joking.
yeah, just joking, everyone. But it would be nice. Let's see, old business is next, and it's the school calendar for 2013-14, and the reason why that's on here is we have to vote on, graduation day. Because of the way the calendar falls, the seniors are gonna have their last day on June 6th, which is a Friday, but it doesn't make sense to have graduation the next day, for various reasons. So they're proposing graduation on Saturday, June 14th. So the chair will, and that's the only change that we made. So the chair will entertain a motion to approve the revised 2013-14 school calendar as presented.
So moved.
Second?
Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye. Aye.
I'm
Aye.
sorry. Can I just?
Oh, yeah.
I'm sorry. What is the date of graduation?
June 14th.
June 14th,
So my calendar shows
Of
June
2014.
2014.
14th. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem.
I was like, why am I so confused?
Yeah, sorry, yeah.
Skipping ahead a little.
Okay, so we had a motion and a second
um,
discussion and, yeah.
So, on June, it says June 23rd is the projected last day of school, a half day. That is correct, the 23rd? It's not the 20th?
That's correct.
That's correct.
Correct, got it.
Because
Okay,
remember,
just
we
wanna check.
added those, we added
Wanna
the
check.
23rd back
Okay.
in, and we added those 2 days
Yeah.
in January.
Okay.
All right, so we have a motion and a second. We had discussion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. All set. Okay, next up is school choice. And typically, what we've done in the past with school choice is we look at what the enrollment is currently, what our class sizes look like, and what we can reasonably anticipate is going to change in the following years. In the following year. What we're not doing tonight is talking about, I believe at the elementary level, we're not opening up any choice spots. With the
Well,
exception,
we're not recommending it.
or we're not recommending to accept any choice students in 1 through 8.
1 through 8.
1 through 8, so elementary and middle. What we're not in a position right now to decide on is kindergarten, because the kindergarten registration is within the next couple
May
weeks.
2nd, right?
Yes.
So at that point, Margaret will have an idea of how many students are looking to come here for kindergarten, and then she'll look at how many she typically picks up over the summer. And then she can figure out her class sizes.
Okay.
And then she can make a recommendation as to whether we'll accept school choice students or not. So that's how school choice will be handled. The other part of that is we have a policy that allows our faculty to apply to send their children to Georgetown if there are spots available. If we get to the point where Margaret says, we don't know where the numbers are going to come out, but if we get to the point where we say we can't accept school choice students, but there are 2 or 3, I don't know the number, there are a few faculty students that want to come in, I can accept those because that won't impact my class size. That's acceptable under our policy.
In fact, the policy
policy
is on your table.
Is what you have in front of you. So that was why the policy was designed to be an incentive for our teachers. So that's acceptable, but it's up to Margaret to really come back and say, I have room for choice or not. I have room or not for faculty students.
Considering how that would
Faculty children
impact
to be students.
class size.
With the end result being our class size is typically X, and it's not going to impact it, or we might have one child over, or something to that effect. But she and Carol are good with figuring out how many per class, and they'll be able to guide on that.
And it is the school committee, per policy, it is the school committee's responsibility to determine on an annual basis. You know, obviously, we're gonna recommend to you, and then you will have the opportunity to determine whether or not we want to exercise this policy. There were, Joe Patella, the union president, as per this policy, in a conversation with me, we decided that by mid-April, we would need to know from the faculty if there was anybody who was interested in whatever grades those were. So Joe did do that, and what we got back I got back a couple of emails from two faculty children, members who want their kindergarten children to come. Other than that, there were no requests for any other grades.
I didn't realize we had that already.
Yeah.
Okay, so it looks like there are 2.
That's right. There are two.
But it'll probably be like 2 weeks before
Right.
we know
Right.
whether that's going to work or not. But it is within the committee policy to say, yes, we will take them. All right, so with this, we're recommending that, or Peter has recommended that we take 5 students in grade 9 and 5 students in grade 10. Based on current enrollment
Yeah, and he put in a,
and what he reasonably expects could happen over the summer. But I think at the high school level, we don't get a lot of movement once they're in high school as far as big influxes.
only at the, between 8th and 9th.
8 and 9. But you typically don't find like 10 families move in the summer.
Not
So-
in one grade.
So their recommendation is to take 5 in grade 9 and 5 in grade 10. Based on the numbers that are there now. Does anyone have any questions, comments, concerns? We haven't
Don't miss
taken.
the little bit on the back,
Yeah,
just in case.
The
you
back
didn't
gives
see
you an
it.
idea of what happens between grade 8 and grade 9.
So
We
I-
haven't taken school choice in the high school in a number of years, I don't think.
That's right. That's correct.
Yeah, I've 3 anyway.
Yeah, I'm thinking that most of the kids who came in as freshmen before are no longer here. It's been at least 3 years, and it may be 4, where we haven't taken any
Yeah.
new students at the middle high school.
Does anyone have questions, concerns? This is the high school. You have to remember too. The high school is different with class size because it's not as linear as
Right.
the elementary, where you have 100 students and you have 5 teachers and you have 20 divide and it's 20. Because of the way they schedule, you could still have a class of 25, and you could have a class of 15.
Right.
Depending upon what level what the subject matter is, what the level is.
Peter,
All
what's
those
the
things.
sort of the low number that when you really say, I'm not going to offer a section of that? Is it 10 kids? I mean, I know.
I like to have at least 10, yeah, but that's really for AP.
Yeah.
We try to look around 15, but it depends on the subject. And, like when we were doing Mandarin, we kind of committed to Mandarin, so there might be a class there where there's 11, but we're gonna run it anyway.
Mm-hmm.
Because we did make a commitment to that language and
Okay. Thank you.
All right. So what this says is next year the freshman class would go up to, or the current freshman class would be 100. It's 100 right now, and it will be 105 next year, and the freshman class would be 115 compared to where they are right now.
Do you think that there'll be 10 children interested in this?
Well, there's
Like, do we-
already, what did I write in here? There's already,
You've had calls.
no, we've already got
6.
applications for
6 in-
6 for 9th. Which that would, if that is the case, then that would necessitate right away, before we advertise, doing a lottery.
Yep.
Right.
But we haven't said anything about 10th grade, so, and people are more interested usually in 9th than 10th.
Right.
But I don't know the answer to that.
yeah, I think 5 in the 9th grade would be no problem at all. We really haven't let anybody in beyond the 9th grade, so this is kind of new. I don't know what that would look like.
Well,
We don't recommend taking anybody after the 10th grade.
Right.
No.
And you don't know how many you're going to lose next year, but if you go on the average,
Based on the numbers that I looked at since 2007, it's we lose about 13.6 a year. We had a real kind of aberration last year with 24, but in fairness, in 2008 we only lost 1.
yeah. And then in 09 you lost a similar number.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then it went down to a single digit again. It's weird.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah,
It's very-
it's hard to tell, but that's what it averages out to. I know there's something like 42 kids that applied to Whittier, Essex Aggie, and private schools in 8th grade this year.
40.
42. In all three of those schools, he's saying.
Yeah, and all those schools combined.
And their class is what, like 115?
They have 127.
Oh, are they 120? No, that was wasn't that last year? 127.
What's the current 8th grade?
2012, the 8th grade 8 is one. Oh, okay, I'm sorry, you're right. 127, okay. So 42. And if you say 10% would be 13 children. So you could be down to 114 if you just apply the average percentage. So, and then if you take 5. Okay.
Yeah, I'm confident on Peter's recommendation that if he thinks that it's something that the teachers and the district can handle, I'm fine with it.
I think you really have to look at our academic class size, which is averaging around 16. And when you take 5 kids, they're not all going in the same class.
Right.
It's not going to take a class and make it go from 16 to 21. It'll probably make it go up 1 or 2, maybe,
In some classes.
in
In
some
some
classes.
classes.
So it's
Some classes won't
it's
be
the-
affected at
Correct.
all.
Right, Mandarin may not be affected,
Yeah.
you know, depending upon what their language
And
is.
it's very hard to understand when we're talking about having space issues and having class sizes like that. They really are independent of each other. So.
Whether you take 5 students or not, you're still going to have Laura LaFlamme on the stage for chorus.
Exactly. Yeah. And I'm
He doesn't
still
have
gonna
enough classrooms.
I'm gonna have roaming teachers. It's just going to add 5 kids over the course of all of the subjects and all of the departments for a particular grade.
It almost sounds like you could take more.
I'm just gonna stop it.
Sorry, I don't want to.
Peter,
Open that, but-
his original recommendation was for more. But it's, school choice is one of those interesting topics because there are many schools of thought, but one school of thought is that if people want a Georgetown education, then they should live in Georgetown. On the other hand, there are people who say, but the number of students, the people we're bringing in are enriching to the diversity of the population. It's really not jeopardizing making class sizes
Right,
significantly bigger. So, there's people all over the place on this particular issue.
Yeah.
What we're saying, what we want to try to do is to avoid it being a funding trap.
I understand.
Where we take kids only because we want the money. We don't want to do it for that purpose. We want to do it because we have space. We do realize that a lot of the kids who come from these other towns really feel that this is the best thing they've ever done, is to come to school in Georgetown. I mean, the feedback we get from parents and from those students is that they are grateful for the education that they get here. So it's not like, people are coming because there are problems in other places. They have to make an effort to come here. They have to get a
Absolutely.
ride. They have to, it's not, it's not easy to make the commitment to come to a completely new school and environment and fit in and
Yeah, so when they decide
here.
to come here, we don't provide transportation.
Right.
At all.
At all.
So school choice was created at the state level,
yes.
and what's their mission statement behind it?
Well,
If
what I understand from it is that this goes back many years to the whole issue of vouchers in education.
oh yeah, right.
And there was all the debate about it, and it was never approved as a concept. And this is another way to create competition, to create opportunities for choice, so people have that opportunity. And so the challenge with school choice is the funding of it. And because we pay, supposedly our pure pupil cost is $9,000 a student, but you only can get a maximum of $5,000, and it's related to your per pupil expenditures, and ours is lower than somebody that we might send to another school district that has a higher. They get the higher amount. So, it's it's got its little nuances, and I'd say 50% of the school districts in the state choose to be school choice, but 50% choose not to.
And if we decide not to accept students, we're still a school choice district.
Yeah.
We haven't decided
Right.
not to be a school choice district.
Right.
My understanding of it was always that it really did enhance the school community. I would,
I would agree. I
I
really
wanted
would.
to ask somebody who was in the
Yeah.
school. So if we're in a situation where we can make something available, if there's a demand for it in the broader community, my inclination is to welcome those who would like to come here, as many as we can. So when I think of it from the students' perspective, what the students gain from being able to have an experience that's outside of maybe the boundaries of what is their life experience so far. It certainly prepares them to move on into the world. They're going to leave Georgetown.
Right.
That be meeting a lot of different people from a lot of
All over.
different backgrounds. That was more my thinking. Why aren't we taking more?
Yeah.
But I understand.
Well, you don't wanna jeopardize the education at all of the
Absolutely.
people who,
The residents.
live in Georgetown and our residents and the students, and
And that's
You
why we
know-
go for that's why we really look at the size.
we
And
do,
the-
because you could argue that, my child, might want my child to have the opportunity to be in class sizes of 16 rather than take 30 choice students, and now my child's in the class of 19, right? And I pay taxes here to have my
Well,
education, so I think that
I'm-
it's a delicate balance,
It is,
right?
absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely.
That's why we
But
look at the
That's why
number.
I'm listening to this.
Yeah.
I'm sure in each class, time period throughout the day, there are more than 5 classes being offered. So
Right, and that's why
So-
Peter
so
takes the
many-
time to look at
yeah.
his really load almost that he has to schedule so that
yeah.
we don't have the, because I think if he went through all of his classrooms, he'd say, I have 25, 30 seats in each classroom, and at least 5 to 10 are empty, so 5
And
to
I
10
don't think we
times.
necessarily want to fill all those seats,
Right.
those empty
No.
seats. I get that. That's on a
Yeah.
small class size. I'm an advocate of that, but there's that balancing, and
Yeah.
I like the idea of having students in our community who come from other communities and can share something with our students that our students might not necessarily
Know about?
Yeah.
Any other comments, questions, insights? All right, so the chair will entertain a motion to accept 5 choice students in grade 9 and 5 choice students in grade 10 for the school year 2013-14.
One more question. I'm sorry.
Yes, that's all right.
So we know we have more than 5 who've applied to grade 9 at this point,
We do.
but we don't have any grade 10 applications?
No, because the process now is once the school committee makes its decision, we have to place an ad in the papers saying we have these open slots, and then give a period of time for people to apply.
Sure.
And then at the point when the applications close, if there are more applicants than seats available, we must do a lottery.
Right.
And we literally pick every name that's in the thing, in the hat or whatever we choose to pick it out of. And then if someone that's on the list says, I've changed my mind, because there are people who put their name in
Sure.
a few different
Sure.
school districts, then we just go to the next person on the list.
So my question was, if we were not to get 5 applicants to grade 10, could we then take a few more in grade 9? Or
Well, technically, we're supposed to let the Department of Education know
No,
what slots we're
exactly.
opening in
Okay.
or what
Yeah.
grade.
so we can't shift them.
We could
later.
revisit that at the committee. You could revisit that at the committee level.
But you let the
But-
DESC know that you're opening 5 spaces
Okay.
in whatever grades they are.
Okay.
And the 6 that Laura referenced are inquiries at this point because we haven't they haven't applied.
No, but they fill
they
out
apply?
applications.
Okay.
Okay. Okay.
Unsolicited.
Okay. So we have 6 unsolicited. We could have 16 by the time.
We could.
Sure.
We don't know.
Yeah.
All right. So the chair will entertain a motion to open up 5 choice slots in grade 9 and 5 in grade 10 for the school year 2013 and 2013-14.
So moved. Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Okay, motion carries. Moving right along. All right, the acceptance of a Georgetown Middle High School technology donation.
That was a nice donation.
Very nice. And the donor wants to remain anonymous, but we have 12 computer towers. And the business department has students working on, I believe, like the technology and engineering, the design process, being able to take computers apart, put them back together. So these donations will be used for that. So I urge you to accept it with gratitude.
Sounds great to go out with yet another donation.
That's right.
It's amazing.
So the chair will entertain a motion to accept the Georgetown Middle High School technology donation as presented.
So moved.
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
And once again, thank you for all of our residents that make amazing donations seems like every meeting.
Yeah.
All right, the next is the distribution of policy file JLCDB. I could say this before. Pediculosis.
That's right. Got it.
And the distribution of policy file JCDB-E pediculosis. It's just a first distribution, so you'll be reading.
Yes, you might want to just tell the public what
Um,
pediculosis is.
For those of you that don't know what pediculosis is, it's head lice. So.
Which it does say in parentheses
Which it does
on the
say in
policy
parentheses.
agenda, which is helpful for those who read
Which we know
policies.
everything there is to know now
Now we
about
do.
pediculosis.
We've learned
Yes,
that.
and including a one-page of resources. So they referenced many things. And it even gives you a little chart of what to do with active lice, no lice, or nits only.
And it's worth noting that it says here, is a nuisance but is not considered a matter of public health.
Yes.
Right.
All right, so you will read that and at the next one, and then make changes and then vote. All right, next up is a school committee self-evaluation.
And I'm wondering if we
Oh.
could ask Chris to come up and do
Oh,
the
I'm sorry,
athletics.
yeah, Chris.
Since Chris is here. or-
Yeah, Chris, come on up and we can talk about athletics. How fitting, I'm like, last night.
Yeah, I mean, this is a very short conversation because I think
So
in
we-
concept, the committee has already kind of
We,
endorsed.
during
this.
our budget, we talked about, our budget presentations, we talked about, user fees, and we looked at, I'm gonna say 7 options is what Chris outlined here, 8 options on the back. I just kinda said, where are we and what's the best thing to do? And we kinda went back and forth many times. We came up with, the top budget recommendation, with a 3-tiered user fees of $375, $425, and $475. This is what we included in our budget. So when we put the budget together and we built it, we assumed that this would be the fee structure. What we didn't do at that time was vote on the fee structure. We voted on the budget and we said this is the budget that we want, and this is how it's all going to be funded. But we didn't actually vote on this. And Chris needs this for the athletic handbook,
Yes.
so that he can start rolling it out to everybody, and they'll be having fall signups before the end of
We do it in mid-August.
Okay, so, but it's May, it's gonna be May soon, so he needs to get it wrapped up before the end of the year. So that's why we're voting on it now. We should have voted on it before, but pretty much got away from us. So does anyone have questions about why we're doing this or what this means? No? Okay, so the chair will entertain a motion to approve the 3-tiered user fees as presented.
So moved.
Second.
Oh. So,
Give it
any
to
further
Pam.
discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
With
Alright.
regret.
I we should say this again. I know Laura looked through the minutes to make sure that we didn't vote on it, and she said, okay, it was clear that no one wanted to vote, no one wanted to approve the 3-tiered system, but
But we have to.
unfortunately, that's where we are.
But there were
So-
no cuts to sports in
Exactly.
this round.
Right.
So that's important, that we hope that, as we go forward, we're going to be able to continue to get more athletes.
Absolutely. We want to serve everyone.
And find alternative ways to support the budget as opposed to always relying on ever-increasing fees.
And the other thing that's important is people should
Or
give
cutting
feedback regarding these fees and, thoughts, because what we wrestled with as a committee is where do we go with fees? Because we cut our fees pretty dramatically after the override, and our participation went down. So there's something going on that we're just not picking up on, and any feedback really should be kind of surfaced really to the, I hate to say to you, Chris, but only between Chris and Carol to just get an idea of like this is why we're not participating, or there's other things that we're participating in now.
Yeah, one of the things that's going to go into the handbook is a captain's council, and it'll be a way for me to get a little bit more direct feedback with our captains. I don't know if it'll be once a quarter or once a month, what it'll look like, but it'll be just a way for them to sort of reach out to the community and the school community and find out why are we interested in certain sports, why aren't we interested in certain sports, and maybe drum up some more numbers. So I think that would be really good for them to see that, if we don't have new kids coming up, we might see some programs be in danger.
Yeah. Oh, it's a great idea. That'll be helpful going forward.
And it's worth noting that this option gives us a small surplus budget
Yes.
versus,
This takes AAA into account, which is really a good thing.
right.
That's,
Yeah, because that was
Yeah, that
very
was a lot.
expensive last fall,
Yes.
and my guess is it's going to happen again
it
this
is.
fall.
Well, you don't say it
I'm
is.
not a mosquito expert, but
I'm not sure this is related, but the numbers you're talking about, finding out interests and
Absolutely.
whatnot, the open space plan that's in the works, that having that dialogue with them, you,
Oh, absolutely. I've been in touch with
survey.
the GA directly, and we're definitely looking into all the field space and what the impact of that's going to be on our athletics, and I think it's going to be good. So everyone should go out and vote.
Actually,
that's on my May 6th.
May 6th, the town meeting.
Actually,
Town
Chris,
meeting vote.
I need to contact you because I don't know if, I think that open space survey that Rob is talking about, there was a gentleman who I think from the company that's doing it that forwarded me an email. I think he may have even forwarded me the survey. So he may be expecting me to send it to people here. So I wrote myself a note that I'll be in touch with you about that. So we can, get, it should be more than my opinion, so I think we'll be in touch.
Great. I guess while I'm here, I'm happy to report all of our spring sports are doing really well.
Good.
Baseball improved to 7-0 today. Softball improved to 7-1. Boys lacrosse is holding at 4-3, and girls lacrosse is at 5-4. So everyone has a winning record as of
Oh.
today. So it's pretty cool.
Fantastic.
Excellent, that's
Yeah.
great.
Great.
Finally getting
Yeah.
some weather to
And then
cooperate
great weather.
with
Very
you.
exciting.
And on a personal note, Anne, you've done a great job, and we're gonna miss you.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it, and thank you for all that you've done.
Thank you.
And
Thank you, Chris.
hopefully we have money in the budget for more banners next year.
Exactly. There's a couple going up already at the end of this year.
Yeah,
So.
that's great.
Great.
All right, thank you,
All right.
Chris.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
Chris. Okay, school committee self-evaluation results. So, I sent around my little table
Yeah.
for everybody. So if anyone has any comments, I know it was a little confusing because it was in Word and then we didn't have a great way to fill it in and get it back. So I'll just go through quickly like what the results were. Governance. So we have policies that are clear and up to date. It averaged 1.2 that's pretty much.
scale in, just for the benefit
Oh, I'm
of
sorry.
people
The,
listening.
the scale is 1, you strongly agree, 2, agree, 3, disagree, 4, don't know. So it's 1, 1 is agree, and then 4 doesn't know.
Excuse me, Ann.
Oh,
I think we didn't vote on the fees.
my gosh. I'm sorry.
I think we had the
Oh.
motion.
Same thing twice?
Oh, I thought we,
We did.
no? Okay, so the chair will entertain a motion.
Oh, we just seconded?
You seconded, but
Then
you
we didn't go, we discussed
say
and then we
all
didn't
those in
aye.
We got into the
Okay.
regret
Got
thing,
into
and then we.
so the second was Pam.
The second was Pam, and then all those in, okay, so all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay.
Good catch.
Thank you, Laura.
Thank you, Laura.
Hate to do that a third time.
Saved
All right.
us again.
Ian was watching too.
That's funny.
So, okay, so 1 is agree, 3 is disagree, 4 is not sure. So, we have up-to-date policies. It was averaged to 1.2. If anyone wants to call out anything, tell me. I'll just read through the averages. Mission statement was a 1.8. So, one of the things in September, I know we went through the mission statement and policy B, and like what the school committee's obligations are and how we're organized and stuff. but it's clear that not everyone has that. So what I think you might want to do, that I've seen done before, is print the mission statement on top of the agendas so everyone can see it every week. Or put it behind your name tags. That's the other place that I've seen it.
Yeah, have heard people say that.
So that
a
just
lot.
might be something
Right.
that you
Talking
might.
about the
idea.
district's mission
Yeah,
statement?
no, the
school
the
committee.
the
School
committee
committee
Oh,
mission
mission
statement.
statement.
Got it.
So on the agendas or on the back of your name tags
Right.
would be helpful.
I think on the agenda is a good idea.
Evaluations that came out at a 2.2. Involvement with administration that came out at a 1.8. And I think that it's a tough thing to remember, like what we're supposed to do, what we want to do, and that we're parents. So I think it's just more of whenever there's a question, I hate to throw it on Carol, but I usually would just go to Carol and say, all right, this is what I'm questioning and not sure what to do. What do I do?
And one of the things that you have now are those operating protocols. In fact, I was at a workshop today where there was a woman presenting from, that was contracted by MASC. And she wrote a book. In fact, I think we should order the book. It's a skinny book, but it's all on school best practices of school boards based
Yeah.
on data that she collected from some studies. And one of the things that she talked about was like having operating protocols. So you have them, and one of those, if I remember, is follow the chain of command.
Yeah.
Right, which is what Ann is supporting. So I think we should really be familiar with those protocols. If we're going to say there are protocols, and we have to live them. So
Absolutely.
I
Right.
think that's another document we all have to get really, really familiar with.
Workshops was a 2.8, and I agree. We don't go to enough workshops, but the other thing is, it's a boatload of time, and that's just not something we have.
Distance too.
Yeah, so, but what I did do is I printed out some workshops that you might want to attend.
There is one, I think it's May
Is there
1st
any
in
in
Danvers.
May
California?
2nd,
May
there
2nd?
is one coming up.
The ethics one?
I'm going to.
Is that the
It's-
ethics
Is it
one?
the ethics?
Yeah.
It's
Yes.
ethics,
But
but
so close.
this one, actually,
March 1st, the ethics, or 2nd.
this one is
That
interesting,
Wednesday, so I think it's
which
the
is about
first.
the superintendent evaluation workshop. You're gonna have to
Yes.
develop
Yes.
a new evaluation,
Yes.
so that might be helpful.
Well, I spoke to Mike today. He was at this meeting. Mike
Yeah.
Gilbert. Remember you asked me
Yeah.
to contact Mike? So I followed up with him today and said, we're going to have a new member on the committee, and you would mention that you'd be willing, when you met with remember we did the little workshop in Pearlie, that you'd be willing to come and do like a work session on, and he said, yes, he definitely will. So we just have to follow up with him. So you can go to one, but we could have a workshop right here in the district with Mike on that topic.
Yeah, and it's
Yes.
always great when he comes because it's targeted to you, to your questions. And then the other one was just parliamentary procedures and the role of the chair workshop. I just thought was interesting, but they're all on the MASC website. So if you find that you're bored on a Saturday, it's something fun and exciting to do. All right.
Thank you for printing those out.
You're welcome. Well, I saw that and I agree, but I just time-wise don't know. Operation roles defined and understood. That was a 1.6, so I didn't see that as big. New member training was a 2.5, so that's clearly a miss. But I would also try to define what that should look like to make it better. As Carol pointed out to me, she's like, "Well, you had 15 minutes on the phone with George before your first meeting, and that was it." So that might be something.
Maybe a welcome packet, or
Yes, something. I don't know.
Well, I think it's interesting because Annie and Ann, when they were both the governance, we put together, a series of documents that the chair, and so all of you have participated where Ann scheduled a separate meeting, maybe before a meeting, and went over a list of things. That
Yeah.
was the attempt at the time to do an orientation, that wasn't charting the course, but something that was
Yeah.
in-house. So if that's still not sufficient for people, then we just need to talk about, well, what would we do to change it? How can we make it better?
And this isn't unique to the school committee.
Oh, I'm sure.
Oh, no.
All the other committees,
Mhm.
they're the same challenges.
Yeah, and I think the other thing that happened this year is that we just got a lot thrown at us that
Yeah.
I had never seen, and that hopefully you won't have to go through in the next couple years. But it's also, you know, not knowing what you're gonna be faced with. Let's see, procedures and protocols are published and understood. That's at 1.6. So I basically anything below a 2, I kind of let go. Member relations, those range from like 1.6, treat each other with courtesy and respect, voice opinions, take positions, 1.2. Members respect the will of the majority, 1.4. Share pertinent information and promote informed decision making, 1.4. Do homework and come prepared, 2. Understand the role of the individual as part of the group, that was a 2. Superintendent and committee relations, we evaluate the superintendent using a mutually agreed upon process, and that was a 1.7. Type and frequency of communication, this was interesting, that was a 2.6. So that needs to get a little bit more investigation, because I'm not sure what that means. And if anyone wants to weigh in on that.
So I had put a 4 down. Does that get counted in as a number? Does that skew it?
It does skew it.
Because I literally.
You're not sure.
You don't know.
I didn't know.
Okay. So maybe one thing would be define what are type and frequency of communication that the committee expects from the superintendent. Because if there's a 4, then you need to find out, you know, a 3 or a 4, you need to figure out what's going on. Superintendent's accessible, 1, as she should be. As she, you know, has been always. Members contact superintendent for information. That was a 1.6. There were superintendent informs school committee of major personnel decisions. That was a 1.6. Superintendent and school committee treat each other with respect, 1.4. And they operate with no surprises, 1.6 again. Strategic plan exists. Constituencies of the district are involved. It's a little over 2. Budget process is documented and published. That was a 1.4. Budgets are based on needs, bottoms up. I gave that a 3, and that was really because I don't think it's completely based on needs and bottoms up. I think we start out that way and we build it based on
That's the intent.
That's the intent. I think the number we end up with is somewhere different than that based on the appetite of the town and where our overall numbers are coming in. So I don't know, you know, that's just my opinion on where it ends up. Because it is built
But it's
initially
important to
that
remember
way.
that that's the intent, that's the ideal.
It's the ideal, but at the end.
Because you want the money to match the need.
Right.
Right, but,
Right.
you know, like, I think what Ann's saying is if we identified greater needs and let's say the budget was to rise 6.4%.
Right.
The reality of that, likelihood of that happening is 2 different things. So I think
Right.
she's saying, you know, she understands why we get where we get.
But-
But it's not always based on exactly what we think we might really need.
Exactly.
I think it's a good point.
Yeah.
The school committee presents and advocates the budget to the community, 1.6. We receive regular reports on financial status. Since Joan's been here, I mean, we've been getting unbelievable
Oh,
reports,
yes.
and she highlights everything that we could ever need. As far as presenting and advocating the budget to the committee, that was a 1.6, and we range from 1, 2, and 3. So we have a public hearing. We hold our meetings in public. We give all the information. I think that's always going to be a struggle to get the information out there. Community relations PR for the school plan for the school system is a 2.6. That's something that definitely needs to get worked on. We encourage the inclusion of community in decision making. That's just under a 2 at a 1.8. That's another tricky one where what I found in the last few years is that we attempt to include people. People will make their opinions known when they want to make it known.
Yeah.
And things that directly impact them. I'm not going to cite what the issues were, but it's clear. It's clear a few things will bring people out, and they're not necessarily the things that we think would bring them out. So.
Can I just go back to the PR plan for the school system?
Yep.
I noted that actually if you look at policies, I think it's in section B or something, and you piece like 4 of them together. that have already been established. They make a total and complete PR plan. It's just not together all in one place, but we have the policies there.
Right.
So, you know, to bring that into one policy that people could see together might be helpful.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
But also just that the PR subcommittee meeting has, you know, in a sense, because we do have these policies and the direction is very well understood by the superintendent and the administration. We've been focusing more on tactical matters, such as the new website and such as constant contact and, you know, versus coming up with a plan at this point. I mean, we can definitely look at that. That's something, you know, for the future. But just in terms to evaluate, you know, public relations and what the subcommittee is doing, that's just a part of this.
Right.
It's kind of why we've done what we wanted. What we did is because we wanted to make progress in areas that really needed help, such as the website. But we do have a plan in place. We just have to help
Pull it together.
Pull it together. Yes, thank you.
That should be on, that should be on our agenda.
Yes.
That should be a goal.
Let's see, we encourage inclusion, so we work with other branches of municipal government, that was a 1-6. So, and that ranged from 1 to 3. We regularly report progress and accomplishments, and that was a 1-5. Members receive sufficient info in advance to prepare for meetings, that was just a 1-5. Public input is welcome and done according to policy, and that was just over 1. Full and sufficient debate is allowed, just under 2. Discussion is focused on issues and not personalities, 1-6. Physical setting is conducive to productive and discussion and decision making, 1-2. Meetings are frequent enough to prevent overcrowded agendas, 1-2. So, if anyone wants to add any comments, I think this gives you kind of a guideline for goals for next year, as to things that, you know, to work on.
So how do we keep track of this and not lose track of it, and it shows up when it's supposed to show up and we address it?
So what I would do is when you reorganize and you come up with subcommittees, you would I would say usually governance establishes goals for the school committee. So I would task governance with going through this and saying, all right, these are the goals. But also as members, I would suggest coming up with those goals. Usually it's done in September, which we lost out this year. But in September, just say, all right, remember we need to do goals. And then bring these up or other goals that are going to come up.
Yeah, I think maybe that's a good thing to talk to Mike about when we have Mike come in. Like, what would he suggest? Because just from the things I heard today, they were suggesting, you know, there's meetings and then there's work meetings, working group kind of meetings, and that something like there could be an actual meeting just on what are the school committee's goals going to be. So if you took a look at, you know, new member training, the communication, look again at your protocols, because that really should define how you're going to communicate, how you're going to involve constituencies to a greater extent, and then public relations plan. I mean, those things, you could organize a series of goals as a result of a workshop model, you know.
How would that be different from subcommittee meetings?
You'd involve everybody.
You'd involve the whole committee.
So it would be a post.
I mean, I think that's great.
But the committee can determine, but I'm wondering if maybe Mike might have some ideas about
Yeah.
how school committees take their evaluation and translate it into, like you said, action that, you know,
Doesn't fall
is,
through the
yeah,
cracks.
doesn't fall
Right.
through the cracks.
So we have to vote on our evaluation. So clearly we have things to work on, but we've also done a great job at other things. So keep that in mind. So the chair will entertain a motion to approve the school committee self-evaluation results as presented.
So moved. Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, moving right along to the superintendent's evaluation. So at this point, everyone has reviewed their evaluations with Carol and given her copies of what you reviewed. Did you? Well, you know, I just said that. You might not have given her a copy.
And you weren't required
You
to.
didn't have to.
Okay.
You weren't required to.
Sorry, it's just my. Yeah.
No
No,
worries
not
about
not a
that.
problem.
No
So,
worries.
does anyone want to start out reading any comments that they have into the record? Because this is like the official record of her evaluation. So if you have any comments that you want to read along, you don't have to.
General
Are we to
to
go
start?
through each of the,
Well, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through each section and you can add a comment. You don't need to add, we don't need to go one by one, person by person. So the first one is leadership.
Well, can I just start with the general?
Yeah, you can just do, you can do general, you can say I ranked her X, or these are my comments, or both. However you would like.
Okay. I'll just, say that Carol's exceptional leadership over the past 6 years have led directly to Georgetown's strong, comprehensive pre-K through 12 curricular programs, continually improving student achievement, a highly functional administrative team, a fiscally sound budget, and solid community relationships.
Do you want to? You don't have to if you.
Ditto.
Okay.
this is for leadership?
Leadership. We'll go through each
Now we'll
one.
go to leadership.
I have always accessible, hardest worker in town, attends almost all of the town meetings, sports, etc., shows concern, compassion, as well as tough decision-making skills, listening to both sides. All of this speaks to excellent leadership.
Thank you, Rob.
Yes.
Yeah.
We talked about just her leadership, and I commended her on how she is everywhere all the time. I think that's wonderful. I think the community just sees that as such a positive thing. I know I do every time I see her. I'm surprised at some of the things that you go to and how you find the time. But I think, just the relationship that you have with us, the relationship that you have with the administrators, clearly, everyone is, has so much respect for you and you for them. And I appreciate that.
And I would also say in the category of leadership that Carol really showed amazing community leadership for the whole community in the post Newtown time. When we had when we had the tragedy, and she spoke up and she got various different town departments, all talking to each other, and she held a meeting for parents and all school staff and personnel, and there was a need for people to come together and voice their concerns and hear what the schools were going to do to ensure the safety of our students. It was a very unnerving time, and to have you speak up and really assure everybody and listen and take in all the suggestions and ideas was very comforting and very helpful, I think, to the whole community and the school community together.
It is clear that your first priority is the kids. And even that most recent incident with the middle high school, I was concerned with that, and I was concerned with that. And by the time I got to your office, you're like, I just sent you an email, and I just felt so much better about that. So that's always something that I'm happy with, having the 3 kids in the school.
Yeah, thank you.
So thank you for that.
And there was just one other thing I wanted to say. The definition of performance ratings: outstanding, commendable, satisfactory, improvement needed. Outstanding, the definition beside it is performance is exceptional in all areas. And if I had been a teacher, I probably, I wouldn't have given out very many A's, I suspect. But one that I did give, which is what I wanted to point out, was the oversees school and district planning to ensure emphasis on improving student achievement. That's what you were just referencing, and that was one of the few A's that I gave.
Thank you, Rob.
No, it's a good point. Outstanding, commendable, satisfactory, and improvement needed. So outstanding is 4, commendable 3, satisfactory 2, and improvement is 1. I didn't read the scale like I did before. My comment on that was, once again, Carol continues to lead the district in an exemplary fashion, and this year she benefited from a very strong administrative team, with all the positions filled for the year, which was a really nice way to start
That's
out.
very true. Very fortunate.
So I think we all benefited from a really strong team, and I think this has allowed her to develop a very strong team and spend time focusing on district-wide initiatives and issues as opposed to filling in for vacant or underperforming positions. And we were fortunate to have the Pembroke School building funding pass last year, in part due to Carol's strong leadership of the district. So we wouldn't have been able to do that without having a strong.
And all the time she spends on the school building committee and working with the MSBA and traveling into Boston to do that, and she puts a lot of time and effort into that.
Kind of goes with the job.
Yeah. Next up is Performance Standard 2, Educational Programs and Student Services. You don't have to comment if you don't want. I'm just going to go around and
Educational programs and services.
if you have, Barbie, if you have anything.
No.
good with this one.
Rob?
I had, everything across the board was excellent with the one question that I had, and I talked with Carol about this, interprets and presents accurate and consumer-friendly student assessment information and uses it in program planning, and that sometimes the information that comes across, that's the summary information about the students and the testing and the scores and where we're going with it, is, there's a lot of it and it goes fast. A lot of it and it goes
Yeah.
fast. And for someone who is, it's hard enough for myself to keep up with it, and so that was the only one and that was satisfactory, but that's always a challenge for me when I watch those. That's all.
I would just say that under Carol's leadership, special education services and programs continue to improve. Curriculums across the board continue to drive student achievement beyond national and local standards, state standards. We've been integrating new technology, and she's been working with her team to integrate new technology into our learning practices. And SATs have improved, and MCAS have improved in many, many areas across the board over the last year.
And you don't have to.
I don't
just wanna
have
hear.
anything in particular to add. I don't have anything of concern that I wish to express, and I am just listening to what everyone is saying and thinking, well said.
Yeah, just so everyone at
looking
home,
at
sitting
my
at home,
notes
knows,
as-
we've all sat down with Carol and gone through our notes and comments. So this is just getting it into the record. Next up is performance standard number 3, budget and finance.
I'm gonna talk on this one. This one, being on the Budget and Finance Committee for 2 years, I'm thankful for that because I needed that, just to understand things. And I'm amazed at the way you do things and the way she looks at, you don't want to hurt the kids' education, you don't want to hurt, losing teachers, administrators, you want to keep the administrators that we have because, you do such a great job. It's just, to me, I think that is one of the most important things that I find, that you just are very impressive
Thank you.
with the way that you do that. And I think Joan has just been great too,
Joan's great.
Yeah.
Sounds great.
It's worked out good.
Yeah, she's been a great asset.
Comments?
The budget obviously being one of the most important parts of the whole process of our responsibilities, and it's pretty amazing how you have been able to, in the end, juggle it all and pull it off.
It's a lean budget. But the district continues to meet its financial obligations and goals without having to cut, core services or teachers. And, thank you for always going for the high-value, low-cost solution where possible.
Well, I think, again, I get to work with great people, who do hard work with limited funds, but at the same time, it's really not always about the money. It certainly is necessary in certain ways to do certain things, but, I think we always look at redirection's our favorite word, right, Peter? We always look at ways to look at what we have and then what we need, and then there's creative ways to get there, and they're not always by adding more. And I think, the town has really stepped up, with the override, with the school vote, with the capital funding that they've done for us as well. And, our budget this year, and the increase that we're going to get, the money from special ed, for special ed. I mean, I think that's a function of all of our collective work, past school committees, the school committee, the administration, the teachers, everybody that's worked together to try to hear what the town's constraints and concerns are, and at the same time build trust within the community that when we ask for things in education, we're asking them for the right reasons, and not so I think that one of the greatest things that I'm proud of is the trust that we've all built within the community in relationship to the schools and what we need. So thank you for those comments. I appreciate it.
And my only comment was not to minimize what you have done in budget and finance, because it is your review. But I think hiring Joan as our director of finance has just changed the way we look at things, and it has allowed you to really take more of a review position and kind of look at the budget pulled together as opposed to trying to pull it together and having your list and maps of all the things we had to remember to have in there. And it's always been an area of strength for you, as evidenced by the minimal increase in the budget this year while we were able to maintain our services.
Right.
Performance standard number 4, personnel management.
I can say that in my discussion with Carol, I found her to be somebody who seems to have an innate understanding of how to give people an opportunity to be their best. And that your skill at listening and hearing the concerns, and perhaps this falls into leadership, but I think that's the two. It's hard to figure out which category to
Yeah.
put these comments in. That my sense is that you are a great coach for your staff.
Thank you.
And that I think is something that a lot of organizations lack from their leaders, and that I feel we're fortunate to have.
Thank you.
Well said. Currently I consider this district's greatest strength to be our team of talented professional administrators who all thrive together under your collaborative, practical, and results-driven leadership style. So thank you.
This is another opportunity for an A+, and the performance is exceptional in all areas. And I mean, that's a pretty powerful statement. Performance is exceptional in all areas. And
Just is.
that went right to establishes productive relationships with bargaining groups while managing contracts effectively. That's all about trust.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Yes, and mutual goals, wanting the same thing, assuming positive intention. We're all trying to be on the same team.
An ability to communicate that.
Sometimes it's just, you gotta just figure out what the interests are, and everybody doesn't get everything they want, but if we at least try to listen to what's behind it, then usually you get farther. And I'm very, I think all of the administrators, all of the, union leaders, in fact, I think Mike's here too, we've spent several years building those relationships, and I think we've had to have some very difficult conversations, and bargaining's not always easy, but in the end, I think we've always come up with fair, reasonable, and products that are in the best interest of the students. So I think that's an important comment to make, that I think we're all proud of that.
All right. Performance standard number 5, communications and public relations. Almost seems like everything that we've said has been part of communication and public relations, but I always consider Carol the face of the district. And as someone had said earlier, she's at, I think, every single possible town meeting, sporting event, drama production, chorus event.
That's a pleasure.
Volunteer
everything.
breakfasts.
Oh,
Yeah.
When Donna calls me, reminds me that that I don't have the right date.
But it's interesting that Donna knew that you weren't there, because you are
yeah.
always
Oh, yeah.
at those things.
Well, she
so.
called me right away, and I was happy that I didn't have a meeting in that moment, because it is a great
All right, so now we
celebration.
know the secret.
Well, I think the date changed is what happened. I think it originally got on the calendar, and then it got moved, and then Laura came in and said, "You have to go to Pembroke right now." Donna called, the volunteer breakfast is going on. So, but that's why, we're a good team. Everybody's a good team, right? We all have each other's backs.
I think this is one of the most important ones. It wasn't all that long ago when the issue of trust with the schools and what was out there with the public. It wasn't all that long ago, and it has changed, completely under your guidance. And we're a school district, but we're also a town and a community.
Absolutely.
And that's huge. That's huge. That was the other A I gave.
No, and that's a point well taken.
Yes.
I mean,
And I know, that Carol works very, very well and a lot with many members of different town committees.
Yeah.
And, you know, you reach out,
Georgetown's
you
lucky to
call,
have
you pick up the phone, you
People
talk.
who they have in those places.
And you have a very open door policy and you're very approachable. And I think that people in this community really do feel that they can just come to you with concerns and you'll hear them and it's remarkable. It's wonderful.
And that you'll listen and then
Important
say,
that you'll listen.
go to the principal. Right? But you will listen and you won't stop them, and, you know, which I think,
I don't know, I still think
holds
I
a
need
lot
to
of
put
water for that.
a little desk at the
Soccer
soccer
fields.
fields and at the gyms, because it said the superintendent is in, and maybe people would come and talk to me, you know, and I sometimes have to find things out second and third hand, you know, so, you know, obviously that's always an action step we all have to be thinking about is, you know, how do we, it is a customer service business in many ways.
Yeah.
And we have a certain amount of education that we need to do with the public, but there's also a certain amount of, we have to remember the public schools reflect the values of the community. Public schools are for the community.
That's right.
So, you know, there does need to be ways for open and two-way communication and opportunities to find win-wins and build consensus around what we all agree on.
I think what strikes me in this moment is that when you have a lot of history with the Georgetown schools and you've been through the changes, and you also have children who are very active, then you have an opportunity to see Carol more. I think parents of younger children, we simply don't have those opportunities because there aren't, our kids aren't on sports teams yet. And so if I were to offer any suggestion, it would be to think of ways to reach out more to new parents coming in to the school district who aren't accustomed perhaps to a superintendent who is so interested in hearing or connecting with the public. And it would be a shame for them to not find that out until 6th or 7th grade when their kids got on a sport team, right? And that would just be something to keep in mind, is that you're new into a school district, and I get that. I don't want to say that there's not an effort to include parents,
no.
because I know that there is, and it's a challenge, and yet I think it's just something that's probably, it's just so glaring to me because I haven't been in the schools for that long, and I have a child who is participating very well, but their options for what
Right.
she can participate in are limited, where I would see you.
Yeah, okay.
So you should go to Crosby's, I would say at 9, at 9 in the morning and 5 at night. And you're gonna hit,
Right before pickup.
yeah, or right before pickup. And you'll hit that faction.
That's good, write it down.
That's good. You know, one more thing that is, I'm sorry, but I just remember how the budget used to get presented. And today, I think it would be fair to say that the Finance Committee is very appreciative of the way the numbers come across. They're easy to understand, and again, that issue of trust seems to have been removed in terms of, well, what number does that mean? What's hidden behind that? I don't hear that anymore.
But
I don't hear it.
What I find now is they have questions,
Yeah.
but we'll educate.
Straight on.
They ask it and we educate them
Yep.
with it. Or, you know, if we don't have the answer readily available, we'll get back to them and we go back and forth. And they'll even ask the same question. There's a few issues that are always confusing, and we'll bring them up and they'll say, "Oh, yeah, you already explained that. I remember now." But it's a nice relationship now.
Yep.
Yeah, and I think, I think that they trust the numbers now. And like, I think just an example quickly to point out is the way we broke the information down even on the circuit breaker. Because for a couple of years now, we had, there were always questions about circuit breaker, and you could tell that people's assumption was that, well, these high costs all came back 100%. And so by just doing that simple table and showing it in a graphic way, people said, I get it. So you spend 1.4, but you get 300,000 back. Ha, okay, that's different. That's different than I thought. So I think that some of that is just we all have to be available to the questions in a non-defensive manner, and just remember that a question in and of itself isn't a bad thing. And if we assume that what's behind the question is positive, then, you know, I think it's just easier to stay on that track with people. And that does build trust, I think, over time. And that's just not me, you know, I'm sure it's every administrator and the school committee. Because the public could come to you, and they have to trust that as a committee, we're telling them the truth, that we're not hiding things in page after page after page of numbers. That, you know, the numbers tell a story. We always talk about that. The numbers tell a story.
Absolutely.
Our job is to tell the story in a way that people can understand it and can trust it.
That's right.
All right, next up, performance standard number 6, school committee relations.
I recently had the pleasure of going to a workshop with Alana, and I was surprised at how many people there were talking amongst themselves about the discord that they did have
Right.
amongst the committee members and with the superintendent, and I was shocked. And they're looking at us like, you don't have these issues? And I was pleased to say no, and then afterwards I'm saying, we are, we're really fortunate. And but I think just looking at the previous people on the committee, they all worked well together.
Absolutely.
And they've been with, as you had mentioned, Ann's the last committee member that when they hired you. So
That's right.
I was shocked at how many people were really unhappy with
How
the
much animosity there
relationship,
was,
the
and
animosity
that
that
was
was there. And
expressed,
it just, I said, it must make your job so much more difficult, and it did. So I was just happy that we could honestly say that things are great, and if we do ever have problems, we call you and you're quick to answer, whereas they were saying that their superintendent will wait days, and make sure they talk to other people before they actually talk to the committee, and it seemed like the majority of the people
I
were
know.
in that
I
situation,
know.
so.
Nor do they get information provided. I don't know what
Yeah.
they talked about, but we get so much information,
Yes, and we appreciate that.
and in a timely fashion.
And she's, you're very accessible. I mean, I just called you this morning to ask
I
a
don't
couple
sleep well.
questions.
As Peter said, at 3 in the morning, really?
I just wanted to improve my understanding of school, choice issues, and you helped me a lot, right immediately.
Yeah, that's my pleasure.
It's good.
Yeah, no,
It makes our job easier.
Yep.
And it makes us more willing, I think, to do it for so long. I mean, look at all the time that the
Yeah.
previous committee members have put on,
Yeah, 6 to 9 years. People spent a long
And
time.
we said that, people are like, what, are they crazy? But I can understand now why.
Yeah.
It's because they just have so much animosity, and who wants,
who
wants to go
the
into
stress
that?
that
Yeah.
we're under now with other things, who wants that as a volunteer position?
Right.
To be under that much more stress.
No. The job of the superintendent is to provide leadership for the district, but it's always working under the umbrella of the school committee as the governing body of the district. So, it's I think we have a very good understanding of roles, and when there's any question about that, we just talk about it, and we find that we can work anything out.
Particularly from the perspective of a new member. I mean, you just do a fabulous job helping educate. You've done a great job helping to educate me and support me, and I have still a lot to learn, and I look to you, and
We all do.
Honestly, it will never stop.
I have great trust. I feel very comfortable.
The learning will never stop.
The policy manual becomes dog-eared after a while.
Yeah. True.
All right, anything else for her recommendation that anyone wants to add?
Thank you.
Well, I want to thank you all for taking the time to meet with me, for your thoughtful feedback and any constructive suggestions that you've made. Been here 6 years. It has been my pleasure. It is my pleasure every day to come to work. I am so grateful for the wonderful administrators, that I have. We all share this, the positive comments that you would make about me, I can't do it by myself. And,
fabulous team.
it's really coming to work every day is a real pleasure, and having a chance to work with people that are dedicated and committed, and, having the chance to be known by the teachers. And, I walk into schools, I never wanted to be one of those superintendents where everybody said, oh, who's she? In fact, I was walking yesterday afternoon with a friend up on, up where you live.
Pillsbury?
Pillsbury. and there were three kids who were getting ready to go to a baseball game, and I was coming up the street. I was a ways away. A little girl said, "Hi, Mrs. Jacobs," and I love that because it's different when you're a school principal and the kids see you every day, but when you're the superintendent, it's a different role. And so I love it when I go into the schools and the teachers call me Carol, and they can feel like they can approach me, and and the principals, are always accessible and available. And I do feel like we have a real sense of team here. And I don't want to work in a place where I have to battle all the time, or I don't enjoy my working conditions, or feel like I can create working conditions for other people. To me, working conditions is the most important thing. And having the chance to work in Georgetown, and work with department heads who I think are very supportive of the schools, and being able to go and enjoy not only the successes but the challenges our students face. It's a great match for me, and it's a great opportunity that I get every day. So thank you for, giving me the chance to be here, and for supporting the work that I'm doing and pushing my thinking. I think that's a good thing. I'm grateful. I'm grateful for the chance, and I'm grateful for your feedback and your kind words. And I share it with all of my great colleagues.
I think it's important for the public to know too that those good working conditions have everything to do with positive outcomes for the students.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
And so it's
They
not just
absolutely do.
about creating good
No.
working conditions for the teachers and the administrative team. It's because with the absence of those definitely impacts the learning of the
Oh,
students.
I couldn't agree with you more.
Very good point.
I couldn't agree with you more. But I really appreciate it very much. Thank you.
My summary to listening to Carol, but just I hope you're here for a while.
Well, thank you. Thank you.
That's the best way I can
Thank
sum
you.
it up.
Well, I appreciate that.
Ditto.
Thank you.
Yes.
All right. So we have to vote on this. So the chair will entertain a motion to approve the superintendent's evaluation as discussed this evening.
So moved. Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, we have one more piece of business, and that's the contract vote on the GISA contract that we talked about at our last meeting. We went into executive session, and when we adjourned from regular session. Thank you all very much for everything over the years. I appreciate it.
Very quick.
So we talked about it. We adjourned from regular session without the intent of coming back into regular session. So that's why we have to vote now. So the chair will entertain a motion to approve the contract with the Georgetown Education Support Association and the Georgetown School Committee as presented.
So moved. Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
I don't know if it has to be a roll call. It's not executive session, so it's not a roll
No.
call. So we're
No,
set.
it's open session.
Okay, just a couple last public safety public service announcements. Town elections are April 30th. That's next week, so everyone remember to vote. May 2nd's a big night in Georgetown, the PTA fashion show at the Doubletree, Ferncroft, from 6 to 10. Look online at the Georgetown PTA website for tickets. It's also the senior showcase at the Georgetown Middle High School, and it's talent show style, and that's at 7 o'clock, and tickets are $4 at the door, right? Okay. And then May 6th is the town meeting. Please, everyone, make every effort to attend. It's going to determine how your tax dollars are spent. And school building committee, next meeting is May 7th. All right, so I will entertain a motion to adjourn from regular session, go into executive session, and then we'll coming back into regular session. And executive session is under Chapter 30A, Section 21, Paragraph 3, for the purpose of negotiations. And it's roll call.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Yes. Okay, we're in executive session.
So I think Ian has some.
All right, we're back to regular session. So, and we,
Chair will entertain. a
so, yeah, so the chair will entertain a motion to approve the Georgetown, educator evaluation model to be part of the Georgetown Education Association contract
Yes.
as presented.
So moved.
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion to adjourn? The chair will entertain a
moved.
motion
Do
to
your
adjourn.
phone.
Second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Adjourned.
I think you're supposed to hit this thing, no?
Oh, yeah, I'm probably supposed to hit this. Yeah, you're probably
All
right.
right.